Yeah, yeah. You know what they call us, man? Professor. That's what they call us, man. That's what they call us, man. Yeah.
Yo, what up, friends? And welcome to the Mind of the Professor, featuring yours truly, Omar the Professor Fonseca. Welcome all of my fans and all of our friends from Fans of the Bottom Line Sports, which you can catch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. as well. Tomorrow, Ball and Buds, which is where I want you to subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube so you get all of our live videos like this one and all of the edits and videos and shorts and things that I put up. So please go subscribe there. We are on Instagram as well if you would like to follow us there. YouTube being the most important. That being said, Ball and Buds will also be hosting tomorrow night Clubber D, the Combat G's Combat Sports Special Boxing Edition. We will be featuring special guests from 86 Boxing, and we will be talking about the huge card from this past weekend, August 3rd, with Terrence Crawford on that card. We will also talk a bunch of other boxing news, fights, and events. So if you like boxing, make sure you tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m., at Ball and Buds. Now, I thank you all for tuning in because this is the third installment, as I mentioned, of the Mind of the Professor, which comes from kind of just my creation of what I want to talk about. Y'all know I do other shows with a bunch of other people. I love that, but I like to have my own time where I dig deep into my mind and when I'm actually thinking about certain subjects, the most topical topics going on right now. And so we're definitely going to touch on that today. We are going to get into the Paris Olympics. We'll be talking about Team USA and Team Puerto Rico because, I got to talk about my island, my country, as well. USA is my country, but yes, my island as well. Got to talk about that. But as well, we'll touch on USA. And then we're also going to get into the historic Olympic controversies. So although we celebrate the sport and the athletes, which we should first and foremost, and I'll get a lot more into that today, it's also has a lot more mechanisms involved that go into these things. A lot of people, a lot of hands in the cookie jar, so to say. So when you have so many entities and stakeholders, things can get a little awry. And you start to have bad things happen. And so we'll talk about the historic Olympic controversies through the years and all the ones they've had from this year. They've had many just this year alone, including, and you know where I'm getting at, the opening ceremonies with the what they consider, some people consider, to be the Last Supper, right? So we will get into all of that controversy with that and the LGBT community and the drag queens that perform that and all that good stuff. We'll get into all that controversial stuff because I like to dig in the dirt, baby. But I'm giving you both sides of the coin. I'm also honest. I'm here to present all of the facts from both sides so you understand everything because I am like the yin and the yang, right? I come from both sides. I understand everything of every subject. And then finally, we'll talk about the political arena we have right now, all the madness going on. I mean, since the last time we talked, which is about 5 weeks ago on this show. Oh, no, it was about a month ago on this show, about 4 weeks ago, which apologies for my belatedness, but I had to go spend some time with my grandmothers in Puerto Rico. Shout out my family in Caguas, Puerto Rico. And as well, I went to Dallas with my boy DJ Danny West. Shout out for Co Wetzel's birthday party, which was a blast and a good weekend. So shout out to all them boys out there. But anyways, so we're back and now we're back into business. And so, yeah, we're going to get into all this stuff today. We'll talk about the Trump assassination attempt. We'll also talk about Joe Biden dropping out the race and Kamala Harris replacing him. And now Kamala Harris choosing her vice president pick and Tim Walz. And so we'll get into all of that today. Again, make sure you are subscribed at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. And we thank you again for tuning in. So let's go ahead and jump right into this, what we got popping today. So first of all, I want to celebrate the Olympics. Actually, one thing before we jump into the Olympics, one more thing I wanted to update. From the last episode, we talked about the NFL Sunday Ticket lawsuit that they're going through right now for the consumers and the bars and stuff that are trying to get money back from apparently accusing the NFL of a monopoly, basically charging a premium price for services that many people didn't want because maybe it wasn't their team that was playing, but they have to get all the teams. Anyways, this is a whole big kerfuffle. What a great word. And so what had happened since the last time we talked, an appeal went through by the NFL, and a judge declared that the lawsuit was unlawful against the judgment of the verdict of the lawsuit was unlawful against the NFL. So right now, this is all on in a holding pattern right now while they figure everything out. This doesn't mean the NFL is in the clear. But it doesn't mean that necessarily the NFL is going to have to pay yet either. There will be a few other appeals, obviously, that are going to come along in this process. But I did want to update you and let you know where we stood there as of now. That being said, that's it for the updates. Jumping into our Olympics, yes. It's been a great Olympics for sports. It's been a great Olympic for the athletes that are competing, for the countries that are represented. And so I definitely want to celebrate at least, obviously, the country where my country I love, the country I live in, the United States, and then obviously where my family is from, Puerto Rico. So I'd like to talk about those two countries in specific, but we'll talk about all of the athletes in general. First of all, let's just start off in generalities. The Olympics so far have been great to watch in terms of the competitive sport and the athletes. I love track and field and swimming. Everybody does. That's what they come for the Olympics for, right? The track and field, the swimming, and the gymnastics. But the track and field and the swimming, man, it's just beautiful how races come down to milliseconds and last second touches or last second, springs across the line, and it's just so cool to see, and it's such an adrenaline rush every time you get one of these awesome races. So shout out, obviously recency bias brings us to a DMV boy. Make me proud, DMV representing that man, Noah Lyles. He is him and him is he. Noah Lyles winning that 100 meter, now going for the 200 meter win, but he from the DMV. Shout out, he from my area up in Virginia. So shout out, a lot of Virginia people in there winning medals at the Olympics. So shout out to our VA people. But yeah, Noah Lyles, Simone Biles. Obviously, we can't go without talking about Simone Biles or Katie Ledecky, who both had 3 golds and a silver. Ledecky added a bronze. So with that, right now they are ranked among the top female or top Olympians ever in United States history, which reminds me, by the way, be on the lookout. Later this week, I'm going to have my top 5 U.S. Olympians short I'll be putting out. I'm actually going to record it right after this. But Simone Biles and Katie Ledecky are both up there, right? Katie Ledecky now has 13 medals in total at the Olympics with 9 gold. And Simone Biles has 11 with 7 gold medals, 11 total with 7 gold medals. But in my eyes, and in terms of technical skill, in terms of strength and concentration, and just, I personally believe, yes, it is an endurance sport to run. You have to be fast. You have to have the body. You have to have the correct mechanics. Same goes for swimming. You got to have length, right? All of these things come into play for track and field and for swimming. But from gymnastics, there's a lot more, I mean, just risk of life and death, first of all, from all the flips and stuff you have to do. But just like the tricks in general are more difficult and things like that. So it is harder, in my opinion, and I would think I've heard this a lot, but I mean, in my opinion, personally, it's harder to win a medal in gymnastics than it would be in track and field and or swimming. Now, again, track and field and swimming, you either can or you can't, right? There is no in between like there may be with gymnastics, right? You can have a shorter body. You can be maybe a little bit pudgier, even though most of the ones you see in the Olympics are very skinny, but they're point taken. The point is, that I would put those two ladies right among the same level. And so they're representing the country great. Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, shout out to both of them as well. Gabby Douglas, shout out to her. First U.S. women's winner in the 200 meters since 2008 when Alex Felix last did it. So 16 years. So shout out to her as well. Cole Hawker winning the 1500, coming back at the last second. That was yesterday. It was so amazing. If you haven't seen that race, go back and watch the 1500 meter. Cole Hawker from the U.S. wins it at the last second, and an amazing scramble comeback. It was awesome. The U.S. men's team, right? The basketball team and the women's team are both still in the tournament, but I want to shout out Kevin Durant, Team USA Captain America, who just passed Lisa Leslie for the most points all time in Team USA history with 488. So shout out to him. He has represented us well in the Olympics. Now, I can't go through every U.S. Olympian because obviously I could sit here all day, but as of right now, we are in the lead in gold medals with 27 to China's 26. Usually people don't go by overall medals because obviously the U.S., we have a lot more athletes in the games. So inherently, we're probably going to win more medals, right? It only makes sense logically. So that's why a lot of countries like to go off of gold medals. And before we move on, I definitely want to shout out, I know we just shouted out all of the U.S. Olympians that have been killing the game out there, but I definitely want to shout out Puerto Rico, you know, where my family is from. First of all, shout out to the men's and women's basketball team. Valiant effort. They gone. They home. They at the beach. They at La Playa having a medalla, you know, at the playa with a medalla. You know what I mean? But salute anyways for the effort. But Jasmine Camacho-Quinn earlier today blazed the fastest time in the second heat of the 200-meter hurdles. 100-meter hurdles. I apologize. At 12.42 seconds. And so Jasmine Camacho-Quinn is a track and field star from Puerto Rico. In 2020 at the Tokyo Olympics, she was the first Puerto Rican of Afro-Latino descent and second person representing the Puerto Rico in the Olympics to win a gold medal. So now she moves on to the semifinals, which is on Saturday, I believe. And then the finals are on Sunday. Yeah, the 9th and the 10th. So Jasmine Camacho-Quinn, salute Boricua. You know I'm rooting for you, and the rest of us are as well. Wepa, wepa, wepa. Moving on. Let's talk about what the Olympics should really be about. We've talked about all these Olympic athletes who have starred in the game so far. And I know, again, there's so many U.S. athletes I wish I could touch on. I know I just touched on the main ones. But Olympics are about celebrating the athletes, these people that have spent their entire lives trying to get to this point, training and dieting and not having any fun, not going to party. Well, they did. Don't believe some of those swim kids. They be partying. Anyways, they showed me some things. But anyways, you get what I'm saying, right? Just crazy regimens and all sorts of hurdles and things, no pun intended, that they have to get through to get to the Olympics. So to celebrate them and the accomplishments of them getting there is just awesome. So again, shout out to all them Team USA gymnastics team. Leon Marchand, the French swimmer, when every time he does the breaststroke and he comes up, the crowd's like, and they're just like, yeah, it's crazy. The French crowds, by the way, y'all have really impressed me this year. Earlier with the WWE, when they went to France, and y'all crowd was wild. And now this, pretty cool to see how invested they get into sports over there. But one thing I do want to touch on before we move into the actual historic controversies that have happened throughout the Olympics is probably the biggest controversy I feel that is not talked about at all. And that is the fact that most of the Olympic countries, these athletes are not getting paid at all. Especially highlighting at least the main ones, UK, Norway, and Sweden, where, oddly enough, Sweden being one of the highest of living places to live. Excuse me. Anyways, excuse me. They do not pay anything to their athletes. They do not give any compensation to their athletes. So what are we doing here, y'all? You mean these people are going to represent your country? You mean to tell me they're going through all this work to do so? They're winning medals, hopefully, for your country, and y'all ain't willing to pay them? Y'all ain't willing to give them a little bit of moolah, some little bonus? I mean, what are we talking about here? Not even a little bit. The billions of dollars that pour into the Olympics and that all these greedy bastards get their hands on. And you're telling me these athletes can't get paid? Now, there are some countries that are at least trying to do good, you know what I'm saying, by their athletes. For instance, Hong Kong, who only has 4 gold medals in their history, offers an over $750,000 bonus, $768,000 to be exact. There are also other countries with 6-figure prizes if you're to win a gold medal. Now, granted, I know that's not paying all of them anyways. It's just the gold medalists, and I think all of them should get paid, at least something. I know they get stipends for food and stuff like that, but damn. Anyways, moving on. The Philippines, 1 gold medal in their 100-year history. They give $100,000 in cash with a house, with a lot, with 2-bedroom condominium, a lifetime supply of cookies, free meals for life from local restaurant chains. Like, yo, if you're a Filipino gold medal winner, I feel good that you're probably drinking for free the rest of your life too, which is probably pretty awesome. Let's see, Malaysian athletes, they receive cars that's cool, right? Indonesian gold medalist, the badminton ones specifically, received 5 cows and a meatball restaurant. I mean, at least you're giving them a business to invest in, something for the future. But the most important one, and I see you, South Korea, and it's important because you shouldn't have patriotism and you shouldn't want to sacrifice for your country. I'm a veteran, so I clearly did. But South Korea, obviously most men over there have to serve 18 to 21 months of compulsory service in the South Korean military. If you are an Olympic medal winner, not even gold medal, just medal winner, you are exempt from that 18 to 21. So that gives you a chance to go to school or maybe just to live your life as a young adult. But I think that all of the athletes should get paid. So come on. I don't see... I know what's happening because we're about to get into it. What's happening is that there's too many, again, hands in the jar, too many hands in the cookie jar. And there's too many greedy people, no matter what their positions are, getting paid substantial amounts of money to make things happen, greasing the wheels, right? Not to mention a lot of these countries are getting the money, but they're not obviously passing that on to their athletes. They're just using that to, buffer the coffers, as they say. So really, countries need to start being more gracious of the athletes that are, dedicating themselves to winning for the country, and at the very least, give them a little payment, man. At least a car like the Malaysians, do something. I mean, $10,000, $20,000. What are we talking about? You're getting billions of dollars just to compete in the Olympics. And that brings us into the Olympic controversies. And the biggest Olympic controversy, first of all, and I'm going to contradict myself, and I'm telling you this ahead of time because I don't want you to think that I was accidentally. I am purposely going to contradict myself when it comes to a later story in the program. But the biggest corruption is the IOC themselves. The International Olympic Committee. They have been embroiled in so many scandals. Again, anything we talked about involving money or those kind of scams, but even things to their migrant workers that worked on building the stadiums and other facilities that weren't getting adequate pay, were dying, were unsafe work conditions, all of these other things that were happening, right? I mean, the Nazis, when they were, and we'll get into this in a second, when they were coming to power, the 1936 Olympics were in Berlin, right? So this is like, it's never been the Olympic way to not have controversy. Yes, it's great. We have the sports, the athletes. We want to celebrate. We want to, enjoy what we're seeing. But at the same time, there's so many things happening in the background which are not being seen and not being heard of. And especially like those migrant workers, the ones that are dying in unsafe work. That's not acceptable. Like again, billions of dollars are coming through these organizations. They need to be treating the people who are actually helping them to build this up correctly. Do we know that this happens all over the world all the time anyways? Yes, sure. Am I being a utopian, hopeless romantic? Possibly. But the fact is that the Olympics have always had some sort of controversy all the time. Maybe even when it's not an Olympic year, they're involved in something. So let's go back. Let's touch on all the controversies going all the way back, and then we'll come all the way full circle to this year. So it's funny because trickery is originally based in the creation myth of the Olympics. So check this. The myth of the creation of the Olympics is that the first Olympic Games were inspired by a chariot race between a hero named Pelops and the father of his girlfriend, his soon-to-be wife, the girl he wanted to marry. His name, the king, he was the king, right? His daughter was the princess. He was Oniomas. So Oniomas, right? A prophecy warned Oniomas that he would be killed by his son-in-law. So as we know, through all these great stories of history, whether they're true or not, I don't know, I wasn't there. But in classic self-fulfilling prophecy style, right? The king challenges the daughter's suitor to defeat him in a chariot race or die by the young man's hands, right? The hero Pelops. So there were 18 would-be husbands before this boyfriend came along that were all killed. So he knows, Pelops knows what's going to happen within this race, right? There's going to be some kind of chicanery, right? Some kind of bamboozlement. And indeed there was, just not from the side you thought it came from. So what happened was, before the race started, Pelops sabotaged Oniomas's chariot so that the wheels would come off in the middle of the race, and no one knew he did it. He did it in secret. So shortly after the race starts, they're going along, boom, chariot wheels fall off, and the king's horses drag the king to his death. The ancient Olympics are born. So even back then, right, it started. The creation story is a controversy in of itself that would be a major controversy these days. It was later relaunched in Athens in 1896. Our modern Olympics are obviously less bloody, but still full of controversy. So let's again go through the times. 1936 Olympics in Berlin. We talked about this during the rise of the Nazis in coming into power under Hitler. Obviously, Berlin. They were awarded 3 years before Hitler came into power. So the Olympic Committee at least was clean of not knowing that that's what was going to happen. It was even said that Hitler wasn't even sure that he wanted to have the games anyways, because he didn't want all these other minorities and Jewish people and all these other people being there. But he thought it would be a good message for his Aryan race, white supremacy message, to show how in tune they were with the world, so to say, to show that they, or to pretend, obviously, because we know what happened afterwards, but to pretend like they weren't the horrible, evil, malfeasance, just horrible spirits that they were, people that they were. So again, it wasn't even sure. And the greatest part about this story, or about this Olympics at least, is that Jesse Owens, the African American that represented the U.S. went there and just completely shut shit down and told Hitler, yo, big F you to Hitler, like, yo, I'm coming in, I'm demolishing all your white boys, like, we're coming in, right? He's doing it, right? So it showed to Hitler, like, you are not all supremacy, and not, and the one race is not better than any other race or anything like that. And so this was what was proven through these races, but also all the tricks and things that Hitler tried to pull. Like, even at one point in time, he took off of the American team 2 Jewish athletes because their names were Marty Glickman and Sam Stroller. He took them off the team and replaced them with Jesse Owens and another African American, Ralph Metcalf, because he didn't want to be beat by the Jewish people. He didn't want Jewish people to upstage him in his own Olympics. So that was obviously a huge controversy. There's the CIA getting involved. We've talked a lot about the CIA on this show already in the first few weeks, but the CIA had a case where they were enlisting people to go and try to get people from Russia back in the Cold War to defect to America, especially Uzbekistanis and Ukrainians and other people that were living in Russia of other ethnic descent that may want to escape. So that's a whole crazy story that I read about the other day, where they had I guess it doesn't really matter now at this point. But the guy, Kentayo, was the guy that they used to try to infiltrate the Russians to try to get people to defect to the United States. So it's said that it's a high level. It's like a candy shop for high level people, leaders, diplomats, businessmen, celebrities, athletes, all these people commingling, cohabitating, and maybe even having some drinks, whatever, and maybe spilling some beans and some tea that they shouldn't be, you know what I mean? So, that in and of itself is a controversy that can happen every year. That could be an issue. How about this one? Obviously, we know recently in the Rio Games, the 100 Russian athletes that were banned for alleged doping. Right? They sent 271 athletes and 116 of them were banned because they tested positive for, these alleged performance enhancing supplements. So, and that's a real big problem, obviously. I mean, we can laugh about it now, I guess, but back in the 84, was it 84 or 88? I can't remember exactly, excuse me, Olympics in the track and field, one of the 100-meter races with Carl Lewis and the other guys, the top 3 placers all tested positive later, including Carl Lewis. And so, and when asked about it, he said, well, if everybody else is doing it, why shouldn't I try to get my advantage, right? And, I mean, yeah, I guess everybody's doing it. Why not? So we can look back and laugh on things like that now. But then you look at this here, the Chinese team has alleged doping scandal going on right now for this year, and China just beat the U.S. in a 4x100 mixed medley race relay in the swim pool the other day to take the gold. So could the U.S. have some sort of beef with China in that specific swimming race? So these are all controversies that have happened. Speaking of U.S. swimming, let's not let the U.S. get off light. A few years ago, we remember Ryan Lochte and the crew, Jimmy Fagan, Gunnar Bentz, Jack Conger, right? When they got drunk and vandalized the gas station in Rio, and then said they were held at gunpoint on some Jussie Smollett type stuff, you know what I mean? So, and Lochte came out later saying it was all his fault. He completely fabricated the story. So, I mean, it's not just limited to any country or any specific sport or person. This can happen anywhere, So, and it's everything. It's from the extreme, which can be hurtful or maybe even deadly. The terrorism attacks that we had back in the I'm blanking right now. I apologize. I think it was the games in Mexico, right before the games in Mexico, where they had a terrorist attack. I mean, the 11 Israelis athletes that were killed at one of the games. So we have all of, and it's everything from that to even What we talked about, vandalism with the swimmers. You can even go to recently where the Olympic Committee, they were banning all natural swim caps for minorities this year, hijabs for Muslims in France. So again, these controversies span the realm of things that may happen, and it even goes to some less things that might be even a little funny, right? So maybe you talk about the 1904 Olympics in St. Louis where they had the marathon, and they said it was probably the hardest marathon ever. There were hills, traffic, wild dogs. At this point, I'm guessing they're not. Back in the day, they're probably not doing a lot of blocking off of streets and stuff at the time. But American runner, I was looking down because there's a spider crawling across the carpet, but it's harmless. It looks like a baby daddy long leg, so we'll leave him alone. American runner Fred Lords decided after 9 miles that he was tired. He hitched a ride in the taxi cab for the next 11 miles, son. And the car allegedly broke down. So he got out and he ran the rest of the race. Obviously, he was caught cheating. And the person who came in second had actually been, I guess, poisoned. He'd been given some kind of like mixed concoction of egg whites, brandy, and strychnine. So just wild controversies going on. How about in the 1976 Montreal Olympics, Ukrainian athlete Boris Onyshchenko had his I learned how to pronounce this last night. His épée, which is the fencing sword, the épée. They got the tip, they modified it, and so that it would go off and count a point, even if it didn't hit the person, just when he was like jabbing. And so the Great Britain team called it out. He's like, I ain't get hit. Why is he getting a point? And they got caught for that. So there are some funny ones, but if we're being completely real, because I need to get away from the laughter about it, because it's not really funny. A lot of these controversies are truly serious, especially the death of workers and other things like that. And so the International Olympic Committee in itself should be ashamed, but they're not, and they never are. And they never even bother to apologize. And when they do, it's half-hearted. And we'll get to that here in a second as well. One person I didn't shout out earlier for the U.S. athletes because I was waiting till now. Sha'Carri Richardson, banned because she used marijuana after her mother passed. The most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my whole entire life. I didn't know that smoking a little bit of marijuana made you faster and made you run the 100 meters faster. Actually, I would think it would do the complete opposite. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue. I don't run the 100 meters. You know what I mean? I don't run the 100 meters, so I don't know. But I'd assume it's not going to make you faster. So even things like that is just the hypocrisy of the Olympics and having different double standards for different people along the way. And then finally, before we move on to the biggest controversy of this year, I do want to mention a couple other controversies that happened this year. How about the Seine, the river that the triathlons were supposed to be swam in? E. coli levels through the roof. This one girl, she got sick for 4. I think she was on the Dutch team. The rest of her team left. She's still sick, I think, like 4 days later. You can't be having people swim in rivers with E. coli. You shouldn't be swimming in no damn city river anyways. Let me tell you that right now. You come to Nashville and try to swim in the Cumberland, I'm going to tell you you're a dummy, because you're probably going to run into a couple, you're going to run into some stuff you're not going to want to run into. Don't get in that river. Don't get in any damn river in the city. It's stupid. You're going to get some kind of disease you don't want to get. And so making these swimmers swim is both dangerous, ludicrous, not the rapper, shout out, just ridiculousness. I can't believe you would put people's lives at risk like that just for a show. Oh, they swam in the Seine. Oh, it's so beautiful. We had them swim. Shut the... No. Get them to a safe damn place where they can swim, a freshwater lake or something. You got to have one over there. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. All for a show. Oh, by the way, which reminds me, if you've seen the Under Paris on Netflix, it's pretty much, which is crazy that Netflix made that movie and then this happened. It's pretty much the same kind of example, except in Under Paris, it's a shark attack in the CN, where here it's a fecal matter attack. Ugh. I would never. You gotta catch me dead swimming in a damn river like that. Anyways, we talked about the Chinese athletes and the alleged doping scandal going on with them. How about the New Zealand? The New Zealand team caught flying a drone over Canada's women's soccer team practice. They are huge rivals. The coach was sent home, to other staffers as well. Sent home. They were deducted 6 points. They ended up coming back to beat Canada, which is kind of like an insult to injury. I felt bad for Canada there. But the 6 points is going to hurt them, so they still are kind of, it's unsure. Still got games to go to see what happens there, if they're going to make it or not. But I mean, there's just so much controversy, which, by the way, that reminds me of Spygate. By the way, Bill Belichick, Tom Shady, y'all are still cheaters. Y'all are still bastards and cheaters. Don't think I forgot about y'all. Sidebar, Olympic sidebar, to flame Bill Belichick and Tom Shady. Y'all call him the best quarterback ever. What is wrong with you people? The disgust I have for your opinions. I'm just joking. Anyways, let's move on to the biggest controversy this year. Y'all know what happened. The Olympic opening ceremony. There was one portion of the ceremony, and I was actually at my grandmother's house watching it while it was occurring. And I was, in and out talking to my grandmother and her fine ass hairstylist. That girl was beautiful. Sorry, excuse me. She was on another level. I need to move to Puerto Rico. Anyways, she was doing my grandmother's hair, and we were all talking. But I was watching the ceremony as was going on, and when this actual scene happened, I was like, it's really odd. I mean, I saw like the guy, the Dionysus, right? He's supposed to represent the god of wine and ecstasy, Dionysus, the guy in the blue that was like laid out on like the muffin top or whatever. He had a muffin top. Anyways, right? Like I'm seeing him, I'm seeing the other drag queens dancing around him, right? We're seeing all these like, dances and colors and people sashaying down the walkway, which, makes sense. Fashion, Paris, all that stuff. And I'm not even here to say anything about the LGBT community or about the drag queens or whatever. Artistic expression, France's culture, a mix of those things is why they decided to do that, right? That was their decision. The thing is, what happened there, and we'll get into each of these different aspects, what happened there was a lot of pretty much all the Christians and Catholics and people of Christian faith around the world got upset because the scene resembled the Last Supper with Jesus and his apostles. Now, let's set the scene for you. They have the fashion runway. You start to see some models walking down. Then it pans over. There's a table full of people, drag queens. There's a girl in the middle by the name of DJ Barbara Butch. Barbara Butch. Apparently a LGBTQ icon. I didn't know, but she's apparently a huge DJ in the LGBTQ community. So she was there, and she had what appeared to be a halo sort of behind her, right? A contraption that resembled a circle behind her head. That could be considered a halo. So, first seeing it while I'm, talking and not really paying too much attention, not much of it caught my eye. I missed the beginning of it, so I didn't see the first start of it when they like panned over, because I was looking to the side. But when I came back, I saw the guy with the beard in like the dress, and then I saw the blue guy, right? And so I'm like, okay, odd, but okay, whatever. This whole thing has been really danced, so it's not really that odd, which I thought was odd anyways, Not even just I don't care about the drag queens or whatever. You want to dance. I just thought it was weird that they danced the whole time anyways. I was like, man, I even said at one point in time, I was like, is it me or is everyone dancing? Like the announcers were dancing, the people they were panning by were dancing. I'm just like, can we just get like 1 minute of just like stop moving? Like I'm getting a little like seasick with all this. Anyways, it was just too much dancing, way too much dancing. But anyways, that's neither here nor there because that had nothing to do with that. That was just the overall ceremony. But it was said to later resemble the Last Supper, Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, and insulting to the Christian Catholic community around the world. So, I was scrolling through Twitter as this is happening and stuff like that, and I start to see the stuff pop up, and I look at the picture, and they have the picture of the opening of the DJ and the drag queens and stuff, and then they have the Last Supper, and they put them side by side right when they open up, and I'm like, okay, they were in the exact poses as Jesus and his apostles, like exact arms, heads, everything, and I was like, okay. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, maybe it's, we'll see what happens with this. So obviously Twitter moves very fast. You ain't have to wait very long. And then all this stuff starts to come out about obviously the offense that is being had by one portion of the world, the community, and then the other side trying to defend themselves as being culturally inclusive and all of these things, which is what the whole ceremony was attempting to be, was culturally inclusive. And I get that. I understand completely. The artistic director, Thomas Jolly, went on to say that was not their intention. The Olympic Committee, the IOC, who we talked about earlier, half-ass apology that we talked about, came out and was like, well, if you were offended, we didn't mean to. And then things started to come out. Well, no, it wasn't based on that. It was actually based off of a famous painting from Greek mythology about a baccharal, which is a Greek party back in the day. And it's Dionysus and all of these different things. And they show this painting that it could be a representative of. And I think here in this case, two things can be true. I believe both of those things are true. I believe, because it was too unmistakable of the poses, I do believe that it started off with the Last Supper pose. I do believe that. If you look at this side by side, it's just too hard to say it's not. And there's a smoking gun, which I'll get to in a second. But I also believe the rest of it had to do with the Greek painting, right? You had Dionysus there. He's whatever. They're having the wine. They're eating the grapes, whatever. And again, I'm not here to say anything about the LGBT community. I am a Christian. Yes. I love Jesus. Yes. I'm been raised Catholic, right? My whole life. But I have no issue or whatsoever with your lifestyle choice or whatever you want to do. I also believe, like Jesus said, that we shouldn't judge. So if you want to be gay, if you want to do whatever you want to do, that is fine by me. I do not care. I support your right to choose, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. So then that's where this dichotomy comes into play, right? I understand why Christians and Catholics and people like that will be upset if they figure if they're thinking of that as a mockery, which if it is, then yes, they have the right to be upset. Of course they do. But, and I'm looking at this from both sides. If you're looking at this from the artistic point of view, artistic freedom, other things like that, how different is this than a comedian making fun of a different race in their set or religion in their set? But then I have to back up and look at it from a more macro point of view and not just the micro, and say, well, this is on the Olympic stage shown to millions of people around the world. This isn't just some Netflix special. So then that takes on a bigger tone of how much does this actually mean? How much of an effect does this actually have? What are they trying to accomplish? What was trying to be done through this? And no matter whether they were trying to be blasphemous or make a mockery or not, and whether or not you think that that's okay. And again, on the side of artistic freedom and people being able to have the freedom of speech and things like that, well, then technically, if you believe in that, then you believe that this shouldn't be more than an offense to the people that it is. Which again, is understandable that they will be offended. If you watched a comedy special and someone made fun of your race, you'd probably be offended, right? You might laugh, and you might laugh if it's somebody else's race, but you might be offended if it's yours. So I get that. And everybody has their right to feel the way that they want to feel. But it's hard for me to accept them going back and saying, no, this wasn't what this was about, when the actual DJ we mentioned earlier, Barbara Butch, posted on her social media that it was the new gay testament and then later deleted it before the IOC and the artistic director apologized. I mean, it's the main character of the skit literally telling you. And as I always tell you, when people are talking about important issues, you should probably listen, because they're probably telling you the truth somewhere in there, and you have to decipher that. So now you're like, okay, well, now you were trying to make fun of or possibly hurt other people. Now, again, I don't believe that it was done in necessarily malice for a certain set of people. I believe, probably going along with the whole Marie Antoinette, France Revolution, which was against the Catholic Church, was against Christianity. I mean, that's all out there if you know history. That was the whole point. Then if it's going along with that timeline, that tradition, that culture, and that's what they're trying to represent, then you can't say that you might not see something like this in there. Now, can you be offended? Of course you can. Again, everyone has the right to feel the way they feel. And them doing that is their decision. They're going to have to live with that choice. In my eyes, though, my question is, how does it help the movement? If you are trying to, and the LGBT community has been trying to come on for a long time, getting their rights, getting, the treatment they deserve as human beings and all of these things, it seems to me counterproductive to do something like this that may offend a huge portion of the world when you're trying to get acceptance within the world. So to me, it's more like, I think y'all did more of a disservice to yourself than you really helped yourself at all. Like, if anything, that's really going to hurt yourself more with these people who are offended now than it's going to necessarily help you to get more rights or be more accepted among. Because, I mean, we can say it is what it is. You know what I mean? The LGBT community is still not accepted in a lot of places around the world. There's a lot of countries that they do not accept that. Right? France, they do. US, they do. But there's a lot of places they don't. And again, I don't care. You do whatever you want to do. You be a damn furry if you want to be a furry. I don't care. I don't care. I'll support you. As long as you're not hurting nobody. Now, you going out and mass murdering people, mass shooting people, things like that. Yeah, now you got to stop that shit. You know what I mean? You got to stop that. That ain't happening. We ain't having that. But again, it's up to you. I come to bring you facts. I come to bring you the research from both sides of the coin. I give you both sides of the story, and I let you make your own decisions. Do I believe it was based off the Last Supper? Yes. Do I believe it was based off of the other painting? Yes. I believe it was both. Do I believe they were necessarily trying to hurt people? No. Were they trying to make a mockery? Yes. Do I believe that artistic freedom includes the ability to mock people? Yes. But do I believe that those people have the ability to be offended? Yes. All of these things are true. And all of these things can be true simultaneously. But again, I'm not the one that has to deal with those decisions and what may come from that, because I'm not the one that did it. I will say one thing, though. It is telling, quite telling, when the next day, right? When the next day, Paris loses power all over the city, and the one place that still had lights on in the city of Paris was the Basilica, which is the Catholic Church. The only place that still had lights on. I ain't getting struck down today. Not for y'all. That was your decision. Y'all got to deal with that. Thank you, Lord, for another day. I appreciate it. Thank you, God. Hey, y'all got to deal with that, because if that don't tell you something, that tells me a little something. Tells me a little something about what we got going on, because that's not just a coincidence. Sorry. Not sorry. That's not just a coincidence. Can't be. And if it is, it's a very telling coincidence. How about that? But the point is that the Olympic Games have always had controversy, and this year is no different. The IOC in itself is just corruption, and this global tradition of invoking these controversies and showing them to around the world in lieu of actually showing the athletic glory, the countries and their beautiful cultures and different everything that can come along with the different countries and cultures and athletes and games and sports and things that don't necessarily bring divisiveness between us. Because again, what does it bring to your cause? It doesn't really help you. Just coming from a neutral point of view, I'm just saying, probably the grand scheme of the global events, not helping. Now, does it bring up conversation? Yeah. If that's what they wanted to do, bring up conversation through controversy, it definitely did that. Definitely did that, right? They offended, they confused, and they inspired some people all at once. There are plenty of people who were inspired by the same performance. So things can be seen, obviously, from different ways, as we know, and you have to examine that dichotomy. You have to examine the different sides to see, okay, well, where are these people coming from? And that's the problem we have in this world. And the problem why we are so divisive right now is because we have differing opinions that are so different, it won't even allow us to hear another person and their opinion. So then we're divisive, then we're going against each other, then we're fighting, then things are happening, people are getting killed, worlds are getting blown up, wars are starting, and all of these things, when we need to be considering everyone as a human being, as who they are, and considering their opinion, but not trying to hurt other people, not trying to throw things in people's faces, not trying to better your movement through the hurt of another movement. So, but anyways, the Olympics are wasteful. Again, they get billions of dollars, a lot of crooks and politicians and countries and autocrats and all these different hands in the pot. And it's so corrupt. It's just not even funny. So for them to have all these controversies is not a surprise at all. So, hey, thank you all for tuning in. Yes, sir. David, my brother. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. That's my boy, David. Shout out. Y'all go support him. Go ahead and subscribe to his blog, David's ALS Journey. It is his blog for ALS advocacy and awareness. He is trying, his hardest to bring awareness and to find a cure for ALS. So y'all, please go subscribe. Google David's ALS Journey online and go ahead and subscribe to my brother's journey to follow him along and help him out. Thank you for tuning in, my brother. Subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. I thank you for tuning in. We are having such a good time. And no, it's not over yet. It ain't even close to getting over. We still got another couple segments I want to get into, and specifically what is going on in this crazy country with the political madness that we have happening right now. Let me take a hit of my water real quick, please. She got done working out. Gotta go Gatorade in me. So what do we see right now? Well, what we are seeing is that, going back to what we were just talking about, right? All the divisiveness, right? We know right now it is so polarized. It is one part of the country versus the other part of the country. It is one sect of people versus another sect of people. It is these conglomeration of races versus one race, right? And we're not going to sugarcoat it. We don't sugarcoat shit on this program. You know that. You know that. You know that. We ain't going to sugarcoat nothing here. Right? And so there is a thing on, especially in the conservative circles and things like that, the Great Reset, right? Where white people, the white population is taken over by the minority population. These things are all things that are bantered and talked about, which leads to things like white nationalism, which leads to things like the Ku Klux Klan and things like that. Now, are there extremists on both sides? Yes, of course there are. Yes, I agree. And as you all know, and let me again preface this conversation with this, I am an independent. I in no way care for either party. I think all politicians are pieces of shit. I think they're all, as my boy Francis would say, JFL, Francis Long, liars, cheats, and steals. Liar and cheat. But they lie, they cheat, and they steal, right? That's all they do. That's all they do. They're just there to fill their pockets and make themselves better, make their families better, make their friends better. But no one ever really looks out. No politicians really look out for the common people. They always have some sort of set of other interests happening that they're trying to accomplish aside from what politicians initially were created to do, which is help a subsect of people that you represent, however big or small that sect may be. So what happened in the past few weeks? Well, first of all, it started off with this crazy, geez, it was so crazy. So it's not that I didn't think it would happen. I was just very surprised. Did I think that it was a possibility? Sure. I even said on the end of the the end of the second episode, I even said that there's a bunch of people out there on both sides that probably want, Trump and Biden, to not to be unalive, as the kids say these days. And it turned out to be the case. We had this crazy dude, which I completely condemn. Let me start up front with that. Completely condemn the attack on former President Donald Trump. Completely disgusting. And it should not happen to any of our politicians. Yes, they're all liars, cheats, and steals, but they are unfortunately a necessary evil, which we have to have. And if there's not going to be good people that are going to enter politics, which probably inherently just isn't a job they want to do, well, then that's what we have to deal with. Does it suck? Sure. Do we have another choice? No. But that doesn't mean that we should be going around and trying to murder anyone. First of all, don't murder anyone. We shouldn't be trying to murder anyone anyways. I don't know how crazy you have to be to try to kill someone, but you got to be kind of crazy. And I thought I was pretty crazy, but that's just really crazy. So Thomas Michael Crooks, will put his name out there because it deserves to be put out there. He is now deceased. He was shot by the Secret Service, which is a whole nother thing that we'll get into in the poor, horrible job that was done by all of the law enforcement agencies involved in that assassination attempt. But we are thankful, that President Trump is alive, that nothing happened, that because I'm sorry, I don't want anything like that to happen, because the moment, not because of anything, you don't want that to happen at all. You don't want anybody to be killed at all. But let's think about what would have happened. What would have happened if that actually happened? What would have happened if he actually got shot and killed? What would have happened? Boy, we'd have, that Civil War movie they got right. That's exactly what we have right now. And we don't need that. We need to unite. We need to come together. And I know it's a far-fetched utopia. I know. I get it. I hear you. I understand. But we got to try. Got to try. Got to try to be better. And that is unacceptable. Also unacceptable is the Secret Service and their not only response, but preparation. And the communication with the law enforcement. So I went through the whole report. I went through the timeline. I've looked at the responses from the local law enforcement and from the Secret Service. I also looked at the responses from former Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle, who has now resigned after calls for her resignation, which damn well she needed to resign because it was under her watch and it's her fault. But as a synopsis, to make this long story short, there was very much miscommunication between the parties. the local law enforcement agencies there, the local SWAT teams there, say that they did not even get their initial briefing from the Secret Service when they arrived that day. Yeah, they knew of some overall plans, of some initial things that they were going to be involved in, but there were no specifics. There were no specific directions given from the Secret Service during this communication or anything. So leaving these local law enforcement high and dry. Then you have stupid excuses like the roof not being guarded because it's sloped. Even though there were people in there a couple hours before checking, you've got this random kid walking around like a freaking weirdo, just walking around, scoping out the joint. Like people are pointing him out. Complete failure by all law enforcement there at that time. Even if you weren't communicated with properly, someone's got to see that and stop that. There's no reason anyone should get that close to a president, former president, any politician, anybody. Really, anybody really. You don't even have to be famous. If let's just say it was a random college professor or a valedictorian at a university, no one, right? We should always have proper protection, but especially, something like this, you need to have the proper protocol in place, and clearly that was not done. So again, the Secret Service director, she retired. She needed to. The guy got the shooter is dead. Good. We don't need crazy people like that in this world. There obviously needs to be some things going forward for former President Trump where they make sure that this does not happen, because he's planning on still doing outdoor rallies, he says. So got to make sure you put those proper protections in place so that we don't have things like that happen, because that is completely unacceptable. Yeah, I mean, it would have got really bad, Flo. It would have been really, really bad. And I read this the other day because I'm still sort of in my military world. But Canada right now, one of their biggest external threats in the world is a United States civil war. They actually have it written in their government that it's in the top 10 list of their greatest threats right now for Canada is a U.S. civil war. So I just read that in a report the other day. So it's it's not out of the realm, and I actually think it'll probably happen at some point with how we're going. I wish it doesn't. Again, I hope that we can all get along and unite and be able to listen to each other and love each other and respect each other, but probably not going to happen. There's always going to be a conspiracy theory with anything like this, like with the JFK shooting. There's always going to be a conspiracy theory. Something's going to come out where it'll be something like that. I agree with you. There's no reason that he should have been walking around like that. You could clearly see from the video, there's people pointing, normal, regular civilians pointing him out. So clearly people knew something was up. The fact that there weren't just a couple police officers stationed there the whole day anyways blows my mind, considering they apparently scoped it 2 hours before. The fact that they just didn't keep them there the whole time really blows my mind, and we'll get into that segment in a little bit. But an inside job, I can't see it. That would be going through a lot for the conservatives or even Trump or someone within his side to want to do that. But would I put it past? No, I would not. Would I put it past Trump to? I mean, he's a showman. He's a wrestling heel. So would I put it past him? No. Would I put it past the CIA or the FBI to come from the other side and try to do it? No, I would not. But I do think in this case, it was just a rogue guy, and I do believe that rogue crazy ass, and I do believe that that it was a failure, clearly from the law enforcement. But an actual inside job, I don't think in this case that it was. But hey, if you dig deep enough into that JFK conspiracy theory, you can go into a lot of rabbit holes. I'll tell you that much. But anyways, thankfully he is alive. But moving on, now we go on to his challenger. It was Joe Biden. And I told y'all the last time that Joe Biden could not be the Democratic representative because he's just too old. And I'm sorry, but when we get to a certain age, father time gets us all. It's clear in the athletic world. It's a common, for refrain that father time catches. It happens to all of it. It's going to happen to Trump in a couple of years. Probably it's happening right now to Trump. Don't act like it's not happening to him either. He's old too. He can barely talk too. So let's get that straight. They're both old. But at least he has a little bit more of his wits than Biden does. We can definitely see that. But now he has a younger competitor, right? Biden was essentially removed. Yes, he's still technically the president, but essentially, Kamala is on her trail, on her presidential campaign trail. Just yesterday, she chose her running mate, Governor Tim Walz from Minnesota, a National Guard veteran, Midwesterner, obviously in a swing state, so an older white gentleman. So obviously these things can help her as a Black Indian young woman, right? Because we know inherently she's already going to face challenges as a woman. There hasn't been a woman president before. The last time we saw that, when Hillary went up for it, she was completely demolished. She was disrespected. I don't care if you don't like her at all. What she went through was quite disrespectful in a lot of ways, I believe. Whether you like her or not, people shouldn't deserve to go through this sort of things. But you saw what she went through. It's not going to be any easier. And actually, it's going to be much harder for a Black woman. And let's not get into this stupid birtherism stuff again. I know the conservatives are starting to do this again like they did with Obama. We ain't doing this. She is Black and Indian. She don't be portraying to be nothing. Just because she goes to an Indian symposium and says that she has Indian heritage does not mean that she's disproving her Black heritage. So just get that straight. Okay, we don't need to be starting this again. It just, if you say stuff like that, it just proves that you have racist tendencies. That's all it does. That's all it proves. And it just makes you sound stupid. So just don't do it. Right? That being said, she's gonna have her issues. She's going to. She's a woman. She's a minority woman. She's going to have a lot of problems. And so it's going to be very hard for her. I still believe, as I said last time, I thought that Trump will win. I still do now, even with Kamala. And I do believe that Kamala is a better candidate than Biden. And I do believe that Kamala is going to make it a lot closer and have Trump sweating a lot more than he ever thought he was going to. She has a movement behind her. And that movement is due to the internet. That movement is due to Gen Z. That movement is due to the young population, the women population, the minority population. I mean, not to mention Trump went into that speech with the Black Coalition and completely made himself look like an idiot and completely just invalidated himself from every Black vote, unless you're a rich Black person and you're just looking out for your money. So that was horrible on his part. He just doesn't know when to just keep his mouth shut sometimes. You would think at this point he would just have learned. I thought he did at the debate. I really thought he had learned, but no, he doesn't. You think for a second he learns, but then he just starts going again. It's it is what it is. Anyway, so they have now much more of a challenge. She is going to have much more of a wave behind her, a power behind her going forward, and it's going to be a lot tougher. I still think Trump will win, but it's going to be a lot much tougher for him because she has, again, the younger population is behind her, the women are behind her, the minorities are behind her. So let's see what Flo got to say. How is this the democracy? Like the Democrats always say, Republicans try and destroy. She didn't go through the democratic process. She got endorsed by Biden. Well, this is the thing. You can say that how is this democracy, like the Democrats always say, Republicans try and destroy. Both parties try and destroy. And that's why I hate both parties, because they both are trying to destroy democracy. They both don't care about democracy. No one of these politicians really gives a crap about democracy at all. But if you're going to equate that for her being chosen and then not going through a specific democratic process, like going to the DNC next month and having the whole dog and pony show with a gavel and votes and things like that, that seems more like just performative. And it seems really unnecessary considering she just received 99% of the delegates. The vote, they did a vote, so it's not like they didn't do a vote. It's not undemocratic. They don't have to do the vote in person. There's no rule that says that. That's pretty stupid. Why would you anyways? Why would you waste your time? Do it electronically. There's no point. But if you really wanted them to go to the DNC and do it, gavel in hand, dog and pony show, then fine. I guess if that's what you require, then okay. But I don't think that defeats the democratic process at all because they still solicited the votes and she got 99% of the delegates. So it's not like she wasn't going to win regardless. Is it something we've never seen before? Yeah, it's unprecedented flow. It sure is. It is kind of weird to see someone who has been already pretty much nominated as the candidate, going out on the trail running for president. But if you have all of the people that would have been going up against her, endorsing her, then what is the point? You're just going to go have a debate for the fun of it just to watch a bunch of people bash on each other? I mean, that's cool. I like watching debates for that exact reason, but it's not going to prove a purpose because she would have won anyways. So that I don't like that point that conservatives are making because it doesn't make any sense because they still voted. Whether or not you want them to go vote in a place where they're all around or something, that doesn't make any sense. This is in Congress. They're not voting for laws. So, Democratic Republic, whatever you want to call it, the founding fathers wanted this place to be. We're far from that. And we're far from ever getting back to that. And, not me personally, but depending on who you ask, maybe not all of that was great, what they originally intended. I know not all of it was. I can tell you not all of it was. We're not going to get into it because we all know, but not all of it was. But heck, well, yeah, because Biden was the overall winner. So you're not really saying anything because Biden was going to be the choice then too. And just because the Republicans have so much problems on their end in having people wanting to compete against Trump like Nikki Haley did and Ramaswamy and Chris Christie and all them, that's not the Democrats' fault that they don't have those issues and they rally around their people. That's y'all. That's the Republican. I'm not going to say y'all, Flo. I'm not going to pretend to know your politics. All I'm going to say is just because the Republicans don't do that, don't mean the Democrats have to. That doesn't make any sense, that argument. Biden was their clear nominee. They like to stand behind one person, and I think that's how parties should do. Honestly, the Republicans should have stood behind Trump the whole time anyways. If you're going to stand, you know how we say it on the show, stand 10 toes down. 10 toes down, right? You already know that. Stand 10 toes down. So y'all, or the Republicans should have just stood behind Trump and never had a primary anyways. But they did. And Nikki Haley got embarrassed. And if that's what you want to see, if you just want to have the jovial effect of watching people get embarrassed, I'm cool with it. I didn't mind. I watched it. I watched every single one of the Republican debates. So if that's what you want to see, I get it. But it didn't prove a purpose. Trump still won, and it was very embarrassing for the rest of the candidates. So what's the point? She dropped out early. Again, this was 4 years ago, dude. You're talking a long time ago. She was chosen as the vice president. The Democratic Party got behind her. Any of the people that would have gone against her, Buttigieg, Shapiro, Walz, Gretchen Whitmer, guy in California, Newsom, they have all endorsed her. So there's no need for a dog and pony show when all of your opponents have endorsed you. That is a democratic process right there. So anyways, thank you for tuning in, though, Flo. I really appreciate it. And y'all, make sure you check us out at The Bottom Line Sports. If you like this argument right here between me and Flo, you're going to love us talk trash about sports because we be getting at each other with Hot Take Jake and Canteen. So tune in every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Go ahead and join The Bottom Line Sports on Facebook. Join our Facebook group. We talk a lot of trash about sports over there. Also, subscribe at Ball and Buds on YouTube so you stay up to date with all of these videos. So, it's going to be tough. Again, now you have these two vice president candidates. Both are former veterans. so that no one really has an upper hand there. Although there are some whispers as to services completed and things like that. You can go look that up for yourself. But both of the VPs are going to have to look into their history. They're going to get very much dissected. As long as they're not giving themselves away, like JD Vance, who already, gave away that story about him and the couch. And it's not the greatest thing you should probably be putting out there, but hey, whatever. I support it. I mean, whatever you want to do, dude. That's how you gotta get your jollies off, and I am with it. No problem. Flo, the point is that what you're asking for them to do is go to the DNC next month, sit around, put 5 people up on a podium, on a stage for a few hours, so Republicans can watch and them make fun of each other and trash you and me and other and independents, just for the fun of it. Also, they can have a vote, which would be the same exact outcome that they just had yesterday. Stop it. You're not making any sense. That's a bad argument. Conservatives need to drop that argument because it's not going to work. They just voted. They solicited every single delegate across the Democratic Party, and she got 99% of the votes. Whether you like it or not, that is a democratic process. You don't need the dog and pony show. You just want them to do that, and that's fine. I get it. I want to see it too. I'm a fan of chaos, controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. I love you, Flo. You're my boy. Anyway, so how does this play out? We can only pretend to even know at this point. We know that obviously Kamala is going to get very much dissected. There's no amount to tell the amount of race jokes and other things Trump may tell. So the debate is going to be must-watch TV. I will be there with my popcorn. You think the NFL got good ratings? That Trump Harris debate, that Donald Trump Kamala Harris debate, that joint is going to be a banger. As the kids say, I'll be front and center for that. Now, what about Biden? To be able to, even if again, I agree, he does not have the mental capacity to be able to be president, but for you to step aside from the world's most powerful job, knowing that you still want to continue on, is a selfless act of service that is rarely seen, especially in politics. So whether you like Biden or not, whether you approve the job that he did or not, and yeah, I don't approve everything he did. He did a lot of good, but he made some mistakes, as every president is wont to do. But I think that he gave his all for this country for a long time. I think he was a person that did care about America and does care about America. And so I just want to thank him for his service and wish him well off into the sunset. But there's no doubt about it that had to happen. Again, he was in no position to be able to run a country. And again, Trump's getting to that point. He's a year or two away from that, which is why electing him may not be the best idea, because of the fact that he could very well be Biden part 2 halfway through his term. Again, I still think Trump's going to win, but that's very, very possible, and actually probably very likely, probably very probable that about 2 years in, we see the same thing happen to Donald Trump that happened to Biden. Just saying. Watch. I'm usually right about these things. So, let's see. What did Flo say? Kamala may be black, but she's not from the South, like the fake accent she tried to pull. Yeah, she tried to pull off the, who was that? Oh man, what's his name? Brian Kelly, where he used to be the coach at Notre Dame, and then he went to go to LSU, and all of a sudden had a down south country accent. Like, son, what? You ain't never had no country accent. That was hilarious. Everybody tries to fake. I mean, come on now. All these politicians are fake. I'm not going to put anything past her. Like, she isn't just like all the other ones. All politicians are liars, cheaters, scumbags, fake, whatever you want to call them. Trump, Biden, all of them. All of them. It don't matter. All of them are out for their own good. I mean, whatever. You can, but it doesn't matter because either way, there should be age limits for presidents. I don't believe that you should be a president if you're over the age of 70. I think you should automatically be disqualified. There's no reason you should be able to collect Social Security and be the president. Sorry. Nope. We need young minds in here. We don't need that. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. And you can say that. I'll put that comment back up there because I took it down a little quick. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to talk, but I was being a little facetious. I don't know necessarily that he's going to go that quick. But he's 70. He's what, 78 years old, 76 years old. He's not going to last much longer. He ain't got much longer. You think he's going to go the whole term and be coherent? He's not even coherent now. Like, I know Biden is worse off. I agree with you. I completely accept that fact. But let's not act like Trump is, first of all, he's not the smartest tool in the shed. Actually, he's not very smart to begin with. But let's not act like he doesn't do and say a lot of stupid things. And then the whole thing, oh, Biden needs a teleprompter to talk. And then a few weeks later, Trump's like, oh, my teleprompter went out. Like, come on, it's both sides. It's the same thing. You could say it about both sides. You could say it. So the same thing you can say about Trump, you can say about Biden and vice versa. It doesn't matter. He shouldn't be president because of age. No presidents over the age. And actually, you know what? I'm backing it up. No presidents over the age of 60. All right, that's a little too young. 65. No presidents over there. I've moved my age limit down to 65. There's no reason you should be that old and be a damn no, you should be retired, sitting somewhere on the beach. And you shouldn't. Old people shouldn't even be able to drive when they get that old. What are you talking about? I'm just joking. I'm joking. My grandmother still drives. No, I don't think she does anymore. She's 85 now, but she was at like her 80s. She wasn't bad. She wasn't good either, but she wasn't bad. Shout out. Caguas. She told me to give her a shout out, my abuela in Caguas. You see, and this is the greatest part, Flo, and I appreciate you for doing this for me because you reminded me that I had to mention this. This is great when the conservative side does this because you know that they're in their Fox News, Newsmax silo. And yes, I watch all of them. I watch Fox News, Newsmax, CNN, MSNBC. I even watch OAN sometimes at that crazy ass network because it gets crazy. But this is how you know when you're in a silo and you only listen to one side, because this is exactly what they say on Fox News and on Newsmax. He's way smarter than Kamala and all of her word salads, and she doesn't talk and she does all. I have watched pretty much 75% of Trump rallies since COVID because I think they're hilarious and I laugh because he goes off on tangents. He says a bunch of dumb shit. He does a bunch of dumb things, and he is not smarter than Kamala. Kamala went to freaking Howard. Trump couldn't even get into a university. He is not smarter than her at all. Not even close. If you gave them an IQ test, she would blow him out the water, dude. It's not even close. Not even close. That being said, Trump is a good businessman. Trump is smart when it comes to getting his way, his advantage. But if you're talking about pure IQ, there's not even a chance. There's not even a chance. There's not even close. And the word salad thing, that's how I know you're in a silo, because that was made up by Newsmax and Fox News. I know because I just watched it yesterday and watched them say that. And I laughed when they said it because I was like, I literally watch Trump rally all the time, and he goes off on tangents and word salads like I've never heard. He goes through, he can't even pronounce some words. And it's funny because he'll then try, it's funny the way he does it because he'll try to play it off. He'll be like, in the sacrifice and the sacrifice of the country is just sacrificial. And it's so funny the way he does it. But anyways, you go ahead. You go ahead and think that if you want, bro. If you think that Trump doesn't do that, you don't watch his rallies. I literally try to catch every Trump rally that I can because I think they're hilarious. And he goes off on way more tangents and word salads than I've ever heard Kamala do. So you're repeating things that come from the echo chamber and that's okay. I know you don't watch CNN or MSNBC. I know you don't get the other side of things. I know you just hear your side, and that's fine. Most of, I'm not going to say conservatives. Most people do that. Most people do that. Both sides will stick to their echo chamber, but I don't. I listen and I watch both sides. I watch all the news channels. I hear everything they say. I watch all the rallies. I watch all the speeches, and I know better than most people. because I watch and I see with my own eyes. And I've seen Trump do that plenty of times. So you're not going to tell me any different. I do watch her. Well, that's not good either, because if you're just getting your news from YouTubers, then you're just listening to people like us. And Flo, if people were really coming to take sports knowledge from you or Canteen or Hot Take Jake, they ain't going to be getting very much. So I think we know what that means. I think you need to turn on maybe some news channels, some official journalists, people actually in the muck of things, not just YouTube. But I do love YouTube. Shout out. And I can't keep going back and forth. I got a show to run, Flo. Okay? I love you. All right. Let's move on from that to what is really blowing the professor's mind. What is blowing my mind this month, or this episode, rather? We just talked about the U.S. elections. How about the Venezuelan elections? Nicolas Maduro, in for trying to get a fourth term, bullying his way to a fourth term. Some would say corrupted his way to a fourth term. Some would say his opponent beat him. I don't know. This could be akin to what we had with the controversy with the U.S. election the last time. So, but what we do know is Nicolas Maduro is a dictator. That is what we know. We know that there are currently 100,000 people have defected from Venezuela within this year alone. Obviously, something's not right. Obviously, something is going wrong. The Venezuelan people are not. Their economy is down. Jobs are down. Unemployment is up. Crime is up. And so, the people are starting to fight back. They want a revolution. Will the revolution be televised? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But if it isn't, then you never get heard. So they're trying to make themselves heard. And wow, I mean, you see some of the stuff going on over there. It's crazy. Like they're firebombing and doing all this. Hold on, what if I say? No. I meant you three, not me. Come on now. They call me the sports professor for a reason. I'm talking about the other three on the show. Okay, talking about Blasphemous One. The other one who and some fella by the name of Dak Prescott. That's your own quarterback. What are you talking about? I'm just messing with Flo. Anyways, let me keep it moving. So the Venezuelan elections, obviously those people are trying to fight back to try to get their country back from this dictator, but this dictator's been there for a long time. Maduro's been in power for a long, long time. It's going to be very hard to get him out, as it is to get any dictator out. Some people may even equate him in this country to Trump. I'm not going to do that, but there are some people that would say that there are similarities. But the point is that when you have that dichotomy, when you have that divisiveness between two political parties or between two religions or races or whatever it is in this world, you're going to have these corruptions. You're going to have these butting of heads. You're going to have this violence and these wars. And right now we're seeing it not only in Venezuela, where, again, hospitals are being burnt, right? People are being killed. It's not something we want to see. We don't ever want violence like that in our world. But it's happening. Where else? It's happening all over the world, pretty much. But there's other things that are going on, kind of blowing my mind. And this is going to be a little bit of a touchier subject. And I'm a digital marketer. I teach digital marketing. I taught digital marketing for Vanderbilt for University and other universities around the country. I teach and run digital marketing programs. I consult for small businesses and for, athletes, musicians, all the sorts of things that I do that involve digital marketing, which involves social media, which involves websites. Digital marketing, social media, it is a blessing and a curse. It is a blessing that we have this technology that allows us to be able to communicate with each other so quickly, that allows us to get things done in a more expeditious and more efficient and effective manner. But it also harms us because it can be used for bad. Not to even mention getting into the AI stuff that we're on the verge of. but just people in their opinions and people wanting to be the first to have something to say about other things occurring in this world. So what are we talking about? Well, now we're talking about the controversy in the Olympics of the two female boxers. Algerian boxer Iman Khalif and Chinese boxer, let me get this right. I want to make sure I say this correctly. Xing, I'm sorry, I apologize for butchering this name, but Qing Chan have both been cited as failing an unspecified test by the International Boxing Association for gender specificity, and that they were barred by the IBA from competing against other females in the female division. Now, why is this an issue? Well, first of all, before we even get into the issues of transgenderism or transgender athletes and where they fit in male versus female sports, before we even get into that, let's talk about the actual internet and the power that people hold and the power that we hold with this small device in our hands, right? I can easily go on Twitter right now and spout whatever kind of BS I want to spout. And I don't even have to be correct. And I don't even have to be researched. I don't even have to be nuanced. But that's not why you come here to the Mind of the Professor. You come here because I do weeks of research before I even come on here to make sure that you get the right information. I also give you both sides of the coin, both sides of the aisle, both sides of the situation, so you can see it from both sides. And I also don't make any judgments for you. I let you make your own judgments and your own decisions. I don't put my judgments or decisions on you. Most of the time, you won't even hear a judgment or a decision I've made on here unless I'm very, very passionate about it. So, the internet is a horrible place when it comes to people degrading other people. And these two women, and as far as we know, and again, I told you earlier in the episode I was going to contradict myself, right? And here comes that contradiction. Earlier in the episode, I said the IOC is one of the most corrupt organizations ever, and they are. But believe me, there are more corrupt organizations. And the IOC has come out and said both of these boxers have birth certificates that say they were born female, they grew up female, they've always competed female, and nothing has changed since then. But a bunch of people ran to the internet. Oh, these are men and women boxing, and we can't have this, so much so that it got up to J.K. Rowling, and she's making her, which she's one of the worst, not worst people in terms of her opinions. I don't care about that. She can have whatever opinion she wants. I mean, in terms of running to the internet and saying things as quickly as possible. Anything like this happens, she's on the internet in like 2.5 seconds saying something, and she hasn't even heard the whole story. So in a situation like this, where now it turns out that she could be incorrect, and again, I'm just giving you both sides of the story, and I'm giving you the facts that I know and the facts that have come out. But not all the facts have come out in this case. So I'm going to give you both sides because we still don't actually know, right, what is true. We can assert or we can assume, or and you will make your own decision once I give you these facts. But these are the facts. The IOC, even though I said they were corrupt, they say they were born, their birth certificates are female, they've always competed female, there's been no gender transitions, anything like that. The organization that said this, by the way, the International Boxing Association, and here's where it comes in, that remember I said some organizations are more corrupt than others? Watch this. The International Boxing Association is, the managing director and president is Russian. And who lost to these two women boxers in that initial IBA, the initial IBA tournament they had a couple years ago when they were disqualified from competing against females? Guess what? These two boxers, they beat Russian fighters. So, okay, let's back up a little bit. And again, I'm not making any judgments or decisions, but you're telling me that these, and as far as we know, they're women, were born women with female birth certificates, always competed as females, were raised female, have had no conclusive evidence that they have any transition of gender at all or anything like that. These women, as far as we know, right, went into a competition against Russian fighters, beat Russian fighters, and then the president of the organization, who is also Russian, then comes in and disqualifies them for some unspecified, because it still hasn't come out what that test was, unspecified test that proved that they were not, or they did not, their gender specificity could not be confirmed, so they could not compete against females. Those are the facts. You make your own judgment, but those are the facts. The facts are, from the IOC side, these are women that were born women and have always been women. From the IBA side, we know that that's a Russian-run federation. Russian fighters were defeated, and only after the Russian fighters were defeated were these other two women disqualified. Again, do I know if they're actually women or not? No, I do not. I haven't seen the birth certificates. I can only tell you what both sides are saying and what both sides are coming from. And I gave you the facts from both sides. And I let you make your own judgment and decision. But I know what I'm asserting in my head from what I've heard. I know what I think because I know that the IOC is very corrupt. But I also know from my time in many various different positions in my life that the Russians are not the Russian people. I will not pretend to put this on their people. I am sure a lot of their people are very kind, nice people. And I've heard good things. But in terms of their government, in terms of the Russian oligarchy, in terms of all of that, the Russian billionaires and aristocrats that run that place, no, they're all way more corrupt than the IOC. So, right? We're weighing it's the judge's scales, right? We got to weigh what we know. And I know a lot more about Russian corruption than I do much other corruption, unless you're talking about the Chinese government and the other aristocrats. And again, not the Chinese people. Love my Chinese people, my Russian people. This is not about y'all. This is about your governments and all that stuff. So there's more to come out about this. We'll find out more, but the thing that really blows my mind is how people can just run and talk shit on the internet without having the right research, without having the right information. It takes me weeks to do these shows. I purposely come on after everybody else has said their piece so I can listen to everybody else and hear what they have to say and do my own research and do diligent research with sources that I can cite because I keep them in my documents. A lot of people don't do that. And they just run to the internet and use it and make it a cesspool that it is because of people like that. So if you're going to use the internet, be responsible. I know there's going to be trolls. I get it. There's trolls everywhere. But if you actually want to be a responsible human being that is not making other people's lives a miserable hell because you want to put things out into the universe that may or may not be true, then make sure you do your research. Stop popping off at the mouth too soon. Don't run to the internet and want to be the first to talk shit or the first to report a story if you don't know what's really going on. And that's blowing my mind. Now, digging deeper into that, not blowing my mind, but being the professor, I need to give you solutions-oriented, solutions. You know what I mean? So what can we do in this situation? Because this is not going to get any easier, the conversation. And we have to address this head on right now. Because again, I mean, as we see with the Olympic opening ceremonies, or as we see with the conservatives and a lot of their, criticisms of the LGBT community and things that they do, well, transgenderism is happening. There's no going back from that. Whether or not you agree with it, whether or not you think children should be exposed to those sorts of things, which I do not believe that children should be exposed to any of those sorts of things. I believe that should be up to the parent to decide when a child is exposed to whatever it is they're exposed to, which is why I try not to even curse around children, because I believe that should be up to the parent to decide when they learn that. And I curse pretty much every other word that I speak, not on camera, obviously, but if I'm in my house, you probably hear me curse a lot more. So I don't think that children should be subjected to things that other people are trying to, I don't want to use the word indoctrinate, which a lot of people use these days, but pushing your agenda. Everybody has an agenda they want to push. Sure, we get it, right? But don't be so pushy. Don't push. Even me, like, I'm Christian and I want people to know the love of Jesus, but I'm not just going to go up to them and be like, hey, you should know Jesus and you should love Jesus. No, I'm not going to push that on you. That's not what people should do, right? We should all want to learn and live and love each other as our neighbor, as a friends, as human beings that we are. We should want to lift each other up and not bring each other down. But most people, not most people, I shouldn't say that. Most people inherently are actually good. But there are a lot of assholes out there. There are a lot of people out there that are just horrible people. And just don't be that person is what I'm trying to say. But there are some things that we are going to talk about that are going to turn people into those sorts of things because of the opinions that they may or may not have about this sort of thing. So what I'm saying now is that we have to figure out a solution. And the solution for this, at least the initial solution that we can all work with, is that we have to have a transgender category when it comes to athletics, when it comes to sports. If you want to be a transitioning athlete, a person who is transitioning from male to female or vice versa, there needs to be a middle division. And I don't know exactly how they would figure that out, right? Because then you got to look at, when it comes to fighting sports and things like that, then you got to look at weight classes and all that other stuff. It's going to be very hard. It's not a nuance. It's going to be a very detailed but very nuanced discussion. But that's at least a starting point, is a middle division where anyone who is transitioning can compete against other transitioning people. But one thing that cannot happen is we cannot have males who are transitioning to females be competing against other females in female sports. It's just not right. It's not even fair. Okay? Yes, we don't want to. Yes, we want equality. Yes, I want women to be equal. I love women's equality. I love women's rights. I love that, we're more progressive now than we've ever been. I mean, at least, back in the day, women couldn't even vote at one point, which is ridiculous to me, that men would think that they can subjugate themselves to be that much more important than women. But that's another subject for another day. That's unacceptable because men are more physically, and this is not across the scale, obviously, if you're going to put Clarissa Shields in against that asshole Thomas Michael Crooks that tried to assassinate former President Trump. Yeah, Clarissa Shields is going to beat the hell out of his ass. So, yeah, there are obviously outliers to this, but for the main majority of the population, when it comes to you putting a group of males and a group of females in a competitive sport or in something where physical traits are necessary to complete the task, it's just inherent that most of the time the men are going to be stronger and faster. Just is. Not saying smarter. I'm not saying it's always true, but for the majority, that is the case. So you cannot have men transitioning into female be playing against females because it's not fair, because they originally had traits that, for the majority, are going to be more inherent to helping them in athletic competition. Now, if it goes the other way and you want to be a female transitioning to a male and you want to go compete against males, I'm fine with that, obviously, because you're going to be going in at most likely a disadvantage, unless, again, you're Clarissa Shields, then, hey, you're probably going to beat them up too, right? You're probably going to beat the regular man up too, right? Shout out Clarissa Shields, the quote, love her. That was not a slice against her at all, but she's just good. She's going to go in there and beat your ass. But anyways, we have to come up with a solution now, and that needs to be the initial starting point, because we cannot have these controversies keep going. Obviously, we're going to have them pop up from time to time, but if we have these, at least this initial middle category where we can place transitioning people who, again, are human beings and deserve to be treated as such, just because they made the decision that they're a that they feel like they're a male stuck in a female body or vice versa. Who am I to tell them that they're not, that they're wrong? I'm not going to sit here and judge you. Jesus told me not to judge anybody, so I ain't going to judge you. If that's what you decide is right for you, if you feel like you're a female stuck in a male body or a male stuck in a female body, and this is what you need to do to be happy, then by all means, please do it. But we don't need to be pushing this on our children. We don't need to be letting former males compete in female sports. Those are just two things that are non-negotiable. And that takes us all the way back to the Olympic ceremony we talked about earlier. The thing I was most pissed about, and I wasn't really mad about any of it, honestly, because again, we talked about it, like I believe in artistic freedom and all that good stuff. But the one thing I was actually mad about was that there was a young child in there. Couldn't have been more than, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years old. Young children should not be subjected to anything. Now, if her, and it probably was, probably one of those people where her dad or his dad or whatever, that's a bad look. That's a bad look that you just have children involved in that sort of thing. And again, it's just defeating what you're trying to get accomplished by pushing your agenda. Again, that's fine. We all deserve equal rights. It's not helping your case. And when you have a child in there, it just looks, it's a really bad look. It looks like you're trying to indoctrinate children into these sorts of things. And children should learn about things whenever their parents decide, or, whenever you go to school and you learn a curse word or something, right? It's going to happen, but it really shouldn't until parents decide it's okay. And that's what's blowing the professor's mind today. So, worldwide elections going crazy, including ours own. We can't even say that we're not turning into a second world country now, third world country now, because we are, and again, I am not here to judge anyone, to bash anyone, to discredit anyone. I support all of my friends in the LGBT community, and I have friends in that community. I support them. I support whatever you want to do. If that's the lifestyle you choose, please, by all means, go ahead and do it. And actually, anything you want to do in this life, go ahead and do it, as long as you're not hurting other people. And believe me, we all do hurtful things. I've done hurtful things. But just try your best not to hurt other people and to judge only yourself and keep only to yourself. And maybe we'd be a lot better off than we are right now. Just think about it, family. If we just love and live in better harmony, we wouldn't have all these issues. And we could all just, I know. Omar, you're a hopeless romantic, a utopian lover, and it's never going to happen. And I know, but that's okay. I can always wish. And as we all wish, I like to end these episodes on positive notes because I want to send you all into the universe with positivity and love and joy. So let's talk about a couple positive stories that came out since I am an artist. I am a musician and an artiste, as they say, and I do respect the artistic freedom. I want to talk about a couple musicians here lately that have done some pretty cool things. So first of all, and the most important here and connected to the Olympics is Flavor Flav, former Public Enemy frontman, hype man, and now niche sport hero, has become the official sponsor and hype man for the U.S. women's water polo team. So what happened? The water polo teams obviously don't get a lot of support, don't get a lot of monetary support at all either. Underappreciated, undersupported, not fully funded. So now a lot of these athletes have been having to have second and third jobs aside from the water polo team because they don't have enough money to survive. What happens? They're floundering. We don't know what's going to happen. They're asking for additional support. The coaches on Instagram asking for help. Flavor Flav comes along, signs a 5-year sponsorship deal with the women's and men's water polo team to elevate the visibility and the excitement. The financial terms are not yet public, but he's been constantly promoting them. He's there at the Olympics promoting them. And this is the feel-good story we need. Flavor Flav coming through with money that he made from a hip-hop career, which most people would have said was BS back in the day. But look at that, hip hop doing good in the world. Shout out to that man, Flavor Flav, supporting the water polo team. I love that. Second positive note, another musician, well, I guess you can't call him hip hop. He's more pop at this point. He's always been pop, I guess. I guess he was a little bit of hip hop when he first started. Pitbull just came out this morning at Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305, pretty much everywhere on your radio, has now purchased the naming rights for FIU's football stadium. Yes, Florida International University. I didn't even know it's possible you could purchase a stadium's naming rights, but he has at the very cheap cost of $1.2 million annually for 5 years. It's only $6 million. It's not, I mean, shit. I want to name a stadium after, once I get my first $6 million, I'm going to go name a stadium after me. But anyways, he will also be able to use the stadium 10 times a year for concerts. He'll have 2 boxes at all home games, but he will also have to promote, including multiple shows and 10 social media posts every year for the university. So what a beautiful, harmonious relationship that is as well. And you know, again, I love ending on positive notes. And so that, my friends, is how we are going to end today's episode. I really appreciate you tuning in today. What an explosive episode. I'm already sure that I'm going to get a bunch of trolls, a bunch of comments. Hopefully I don't get, canceled, assassinated. Hopefully they don't come after me, the Russian and Chinese governments. But you know what? If they do, fuck them. That being said, thank you to Flo tuning in with the comments. You came through with all those wonderful comments, making me think a little bit more insightful, making me, bring a little more in nuanced and detailed conversation so that we could think about things. And that's how we got to do it, right? We got to conversate just like me and Flo did, keeping the love, but as well having differences of opinions. And again, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I don't have one side or the other that I'm cheering for. I'm just giving you facts and the deal from both sides of the stories. But I can, at least rebut his conservative viewpoints and talking points, because I do watch both sides of the aisle, because I do pay attention to any story. I pay attention to both sides. And that's what this show is all about, is about bringing you research of both sides of all of these controversial and crazy topics that we talk about on this show. And I appreciate y'all. Again, please subscribe at Ball and Buds on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. That's the most important thing to do. That's where we go live every day, including tomorrow. You're going to want to be there, 8 p.m. Eastern, Clubber D, the Combat G's Combat Sports Special Boxing Edition, featuring special guests, 86 Boxing. Yes, we have special guests, 86 Boxing. Go ahead and follow them on YouTube as well. 86 Boxing will be joining us tomorrow for Clubber D, the Combat G's Combat Sports Special Boxing Edition, 8 p.m. Eastern at Ball and Buds. Make sure you check us out on Ball and Buds on YouTube, on Instagram. We'll also be going live, and on Facebook. It's at my personal page, or if you join the Bottom Line Sports, you can also watch all of our shows streamed there at The Bottom Line Sports. It is a Facebook group, a lot of sports trash talk and news, and we also stream all our live shows there. Also, you can catch the Bottom Line Sports Tuesdays with Flo, Canteen, Hot Take Jake, and yours truly at 8 p.m. every Tuesday night, and we'll probably go back to another Sunday show as well when football starts, so be in tune with that. Also, I'll be back not only tomorrow with Clubber D, and next week Clubber D also has his MMA show, but in a couple weeks I'll be back with Banter, Brawls, and Bravado number 5, and that's going to be real explosive. We're going to have some new guests on. By the way, we're getting hot and heavy with some good guests coming on. We've got some semi and maybe even some major celebrities joining soon, so y'all be on the lookout. Make sure you stay tuned. Go ahead and subscribe at Ball and Buds. That being said, for Ball and Buds, for Clubber D, Mike Weeby, for Bottom Line Sports, for all of our other connected networks out there, IOW, Let's Talk Sports, LOM Sports, Man Down Sports, and all the rest. Salute Omar, the Professor Fonseca, yours truly. I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Remember to go out, love each other, be kind, and yeah, let's just try to get along and be the best we can be. And I will see y'all tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget the Clubber D Combat Sports Boxing Edition. That being said, holla, 5,000.
Yeah, you know what they call us, man. Professor. That's what they call us, man.